Danny, let's start with the big story today for Huddersfield Town. Aaron Mooy joining Brighton on a permanent. Are you happy to see that deal come through?
Good question. Obviously, Aaron was out on loan before we arrived. We're very respectful of him as a footballer. He's done a fantastic job at the front end of the season for Brighton. Can understand why they would want to sign him permanently. I think he did a brilliant job for Huddersfield Town in the period that he was at the football club, and I know the supporters think an awful lot of him. Conducted himself really well through a difficult summer period. Was keen to do the right thing by the club and signed a new contract before he went. And obviously we get to this point now where the two clubs have agreed a transfer, and we wish him well for the future. But we would have liked personally to have worked with him, of course, because he's a top player. There's no doubt about that. But I think in the circumstances, it was probably the right deal for all parties.
You mentioned how big an asset he has been to the fans and to the club. I guess the big question then for the fans is that undisclosed fee, which is undisclosed. I appreciate and I respect that, but people will also realise that this is one of Huddersfield Town's main assets. So have you got what you wanted for him?
So you respect that it's an undisclosed fee, but you really want to know what that undisclosed fee is. I always find it quite frustrating, actually. I, from a supporter's point of view, they pay their money and they want to know what the fees are. So I do get it. I understand why it won't only be Huddersfield Town supporters, it'll be football supporters across the country get really frustrated with undisclosed fees, because I don't like it really. You even get undisclosed contract lengths now, don't you? So, yeah, it's all a bit cloak and dagger. But listen, I think a deal was done in the summer. It was done in the interests of all parties. Aaron Mooy didn't have to sign a deal at that point. He only had a year left on his contract. He did because he wanted to do the right thing by Huddersfield Town, and I think we really respect that. Obviously, for him to sign a new deal, there would have been certain clauses in place, and as a consequence, Brighton have triggered that clause and have signed him. And yeah, we and I think Phil did a really good piece of business on the deadline day of the summer window to put us in a position where we've got good money for him. So I think you always want more money, of course, but we take the money that we've got for him. We wish him well, we wish Brighton well, and we move on as a football club.
On the players that have arrived at the club, then how have they settled in over the last week or so? Good.
Yeah, it's been great to have the experience of Andy and Richard. Bring with them a wealth of experience, played 1 million games of football, bring character and a real substance in terms of their personality. Already have had an influence both in the changing room and on the grass. Come from winning cultures, which I think is important. Know what the behaviours and the actions on a day-to-day basis are of a winning team. And have already started to influence the younger players, and that's been great. Harry Toffolo comes in with a unbelievable energy and enthusiasm for life, which I like. I always like to see people's teeth in the morning. When you see them smiling, it's always makes the world a better place with a few people smiling. And he loves his work and wants to get better. And the thing that I love about Harry is his desire to be the best that he can be. And I rest easy knowing that he's going to do all he can to reach the potential that he has at his disposal. And young Emil's been a pleasure. Really good kid. Never easy when you're young and you move out of mum and dad's house and move to another part of the country. So we've tried to put the pastoral care in place to look after him and help him in that transition. He obviously, this time last year, went to Germany, to Leipzig, and has already experienced that to some degree. And yeah, no, the boys have looked after him well, and he's a top player. He's everything that we thought he was, and he's got that ability to speed up training and make your drills look better. So from a coaching perspective, he's a dream, and they've been good, and there's been a shift. There's been a shift before coming in, competition for places, the quality of training's gone up. You have to remember we had a real period where we had low numbers, and it was on the training pitch. We were having to look after and protect some because the amount of football that they had to play, we were nervous of injuring them. I think when we did want to do bigger numbers, we had to bring the younger players in, and sometimes, you know, the younger players are not always ready for that, and it can frustrate the older players. So we've had all of these challenges to overcome pre-Christmas and pre-January transfer window. So to have 4 senior players in the building has been a positive. It's created a competition for places. There's a shift in terms of the dynamic of the changing room, and that can only be good for what is to come. And you know, as a coach, as a manager, when the training's good, then that normally replicates on the pitch, and we're working really, really hard to try to get to a level of performance that we ourselves can be proud of, and as importantly, if not more importantly, our supporters can be proud of.
Just on Hull City, we were talking to Fraser just before about when you mention Hull City, you hear the name Jared Bowen often said afterwards. How do you go about restricting what is a star player in the Championship?
Well, he's a top player. There's no doubt about that. He's, you know, season after season now, he's been in and around the goals, and he plays out wide, but he has the goal return of a centre forward, and he's a real threat. He's got a directness about him. You can see he's single-minded. He when the play develops down the left, he's got that ability to arrive on the back post, and you can see why he scores the number of goals that he does. Grzycki on the other side is equally as dangerous, and Hull have 2 of the best wingers in the Championship, that is for sure. So we're aware of both threats. We know Hull are a very good team. I get the pleasure of going to watch them tomorrow against Chelsea, so I'll enjoy doing that. And we'll be preparing ourselves as best as we can to nullify their threats, but also try to exploit them in the areas that we think we have the ability to be able to do that.
Does that put you at an advantage, given that they're playing this week and you've got a bit more rest time?
I think if we make it an advantage, then it can be one. I think the advantage for us is just having this 10-day lead-in, which has just been a really good opportunity, a good time to get on the grass and just get down some of the fundamentals and some of the principles that we work with and want to work with. It's, you know, for the players, it's about us trying to keep building their partnerships and relationships. It's about us trying to keep working with them so that they get to see the pictures that they will see on a match day in the training sessions, and the more they see those pictures, the more likely they are then to make the right decision at the right moment. And that's what training is really. You're training the players' habits, and you're trying to get them aligned, and we're trying to get to a stage where the team thinks with one brain, so we're all on the same page. And do you ever get there? I'm not sure, but you know, our aim is to keep striving, to keep improving, and we've definitely seen improvement over the last week, and that gives us confidence moving forward.